You're listening to Healing Voices Project, where we share stories and the latest information from people who fight addiction every day. I'm Mike Torville, your host and author of Voices from the Fallen. Thank you for listening, for following, and most of all, for sharing with people you care about. Make your voice count too. Hello everybody, thanks for joining us again here at Healing Voices Project. I'm Mike Torville, your host, and as you know, every week we have a different guest and to share their stories, share inspirational experiences, talk about their programs, and today we have a little bit of both. We have a guest, his name is Josh Ouimet. He's a new friend who we met through the Michael J. Diaz Foundation. And Josh, of course, has his own story, but he's also done a lot of work at the Michael J. Diaz Foundation as a lead resident. And he's got lots of things to talk about with Michael J. Diaz, of course, our new friends there, but also Josh's own story that led him to where he is now. And Josh, hey man, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. And I know, Josh, you've been through a lot. We've talked at length. And I know you've been sober now for over a year and a half. October 6th, 2021 is your sober date, correct?
That's the day, yes,
That's
sir.
great. That's wonderful. Hey, you're moving on 2 years now already.
Getting there, God willing, yeah.
Yeah, and in the last year and a half or so has been quite different from the previous 15 years or so.
Yes.
Right?
That's for sure. Yeah.
That's right. Better?
A lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I know you have a full-time job. And that keeps you busy Monday through Friday, 8 to 4.
Perfect. Yeah.
And you are a resident at Sean's Place.
Correct, yeah.
Which is a step-up program.
Yeah, it's the three-quarter house in the
Okay.
Michael J. Diaz Foundation.
Yeah, and that's in Springfield, Mass.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about a little bit about Michael J. Diaz and what your experience there, and we'll get into your own story. Like, what led you there. And I know it's a 15-year story,
yeah,
but we can do it in our allotted time here. But so what happens at the Michael J. Diaz house? And tell us about Sean's Place.
So I went to Christian and Brian's house. I started off there.
Yeah.
It's a 12-step fellowship house.
Mm-hmm.
They get you involved in the fellowship. They require you to get a sponsor and work your steps and attend meetings, and I didn't know that's exactly what I needed, to get me on the right path.
How did you get there? You didn't just say, "Hey, raise your hand and say I want to go to."
Yeah.
Somebody got you there, and how did that happen?
Yeah. So I was this last go around I was sectioned at Stony Brook over in Ludlow,
Mm-hmm.
and I attended my meetings there. I was there for 40 some odd days, and towards the end it came time to plan aftercare, and I developed a good relationship with my my counselor there. And
Okay.
he had recommended Michael J. Diaz Foundation.
Okay, yeah. And that's great. They've really done some great work there.
Yeah.
And and this is always the thing that I think about too is you leave. You were at what'd you say, Stony? What was the
Stony Brook.
Stony Brook.
Stabilization and treatment.
When you left there, a little anxiety about stepping into Michael's house and say, "What's this all about? What am I gonna?"
Yeah, I was terrified. It was my first time at a sober house. It's my first go around.
Yeah, you didn't know what to expect.
No.
Was the anxiety well-founded, or did you find that at some point you said, "Hey, wait a second, this isn't what I thought"? Or how did things change after day one?
Yeah, it was that initial, living with 20 guys I've never met before, all at different points in recovery.
Yeah.
The first few days were nerve-wracking. I kind of, hid, kept a low profile.
Did you second guess yourself and say, "What am I doing here"?
No, I don't think I did that.
Okay. All right.
I think I knew I needed to be there.
Yeah.
But some of the more senior guys, started talking to me, getting me out of my shell.
Mm-hmm. And they got you out of your shell.
Yeah.
So much so that you remained there for a while, became a lead resident.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I became a lead resident within the first 3 months
Mm-hmm.
being there. Yeah, I was there for a total of 13 months, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And now you're at Sean's place.
Sean's place, yeah.
Yeah. And how does that, what is the difference between Michael's house, Sean's place, and Christian O'Brien's house where you were? How does that work?
So, Sean's place is, it's a 3/4 house. A lot less restrictions, I would say. It's,
Okay.
Guys who have had 6 months or more of sobriety, guys who
Okay.
have completed their 5th step.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it's a smaller house, 7 guys.
Okay. Whereas Christian O'Brien's house is larger. There were 20 guys.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, a little more independence
Right.
at Sean's place. So that's been working out pretty well now.
Yeah.
And but it's where you are now is really more important. But it is important to talk about the context of what got you there, what led you there, right? Because I think you're a young guy now, right? You got a lot of life left in you, and it's going to be better now. Yeah. That's for sure. But you were young. You were 14 or so when you started.
I was
drinking,
14 when I had my first drink, yeah.
And what happened after that?
So, yeah, it started off, I mean, it was the first drink. I loved it. I wanted to do it as much as possible. I was never much of a social drinker. I wanted to do it alone.
Where'd you get it?
So
I mean, a 14-year-old, you didn't walk into a store and buy it.
No, it was out of my parents' cabinet.
Yeah,
And
that's
then it
typical.
was,
Yeah, I did that too.
any friend
Yeah.
willing to let me come over and explore their parents' house, for sure.
Yeah. So you just found ways to get it. And
Yeah.
then what was it you were drinking back then? I mean,
I think it was right off the rip. It was vodka, and it stayed that way for the better half of 12 years.
wow.
The worst half of 12 years.
So you went through high school. How did that go? Did your drinking affect your relationships, your academics, anything like that? How did you get through high school while drinking like that?
So in high school, I had suffered from anxiety
Mm-hmm.
and depression in
Mhm.
high school. So I mean that affected my school more so. I was really only an occasional weekend drinker, but I got through high school. I passed
Yeah.
passed the classes I was interested in, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I was involved in sports in high school.
Okay. Yeah. So you got through that okay, but you
Yeah.
still drank and on the weekends and you just kind of partied with friends, or did you drink more alone?
It was more alone.
More alone.
Yeah.
Because that's different. I mean, a lot of high schoolers will drink at the keg parties out in the woods kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
And but you drank more alone. You said you actually were going through some anxiety and depression and taking some medication for that. But at the time, you preferred to drink by yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. And what did that lead to? I mean, what changed when you got out of high school?
When I got out of high school, I wanted to pursue a career in law enforcement. I started going to HCC.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know, that college environment. I was at HCC during the week, and then I was at UMass, a weekend student at UMass. So, the drinking, it already started to progress.
Yeah.
I found marijuana among
Uh-huh.
other substances in college, and it took off. It slowly started progressing, I would say.
And then did it end up affecting your schoolwork?
Yeah. I decided that I can't become a police officer and live this lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it was one or the other, and
What did you choose?
I chose to take a semester off. Yeah.
I'll go back next semester, right?
Yeah.
That's what you thought, but that doesn't work out often. No. Yeah, I know. A lot of us went through that. And so you that semester off, you continued drinking.
Yeah.
And it didn't get better, it got worse. Right?
No, I was working 2 jobs at the time.
Okay.
But I would drink every chance I could.
Yeah. Yeah. Always under control?
I thought so.
Mm-hmm.
I thought so.
When did you realize it wasn't?
Probably when I turned 21, and I got the golden ticket there,
You got the pass.
the pass.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then what happened?
Yeah, I became almost a daily drinker at that point.
Vodka still?
Yes.
Wow. What else did you do? Was that your primary activity? I mean, did you do? You weren't going to school because you took a semester
Yeah,
off.
I
You
was
were
working.
Yeah.
I was in a relationship at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
That my substance use took a toll on that relationship, and it got to a point where one of us should have walked away, and eventually she did, and I took that hard. The progression, these little events in my life, amplify the progression of this disease.
Mm-hmm. And in your relationship with your family, did that change at all?
Yeah. I mean, they were always, I had two loving, supporting parents. They were always, very concerned. I got caught when I was 14 stealing liquor from my parents, and my dad sat me down and said, "You need to be careful. You might have a problem."
At 14,
so at 14, he had me pinged.
Wow. And how did this affect your relationship at 21, 22 as that went on? That you didn't realize, you said you had a problem.
Yeah.
Did it occur to you that this is getting out of control?
I think it did, subconsciously, but yeah, I just wanted to keep going as long as I could.
Anything change? Or did you any event or something that made you say, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah. So one night my parents had confronted me about my alcohol use.
You were living at home?
I was living at home.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had gotten to a verbal altercation that turned into a physical altercation. My mom, being scared, she called the police, and Wilbraham PD showed up, and
Off you went.
yeah, off I went for domestic.
Where'd you go?
I went to Wilbraham Police Department. I was released that night, but I was
Okay.
given a court date.
Mm-hmm.
Show up at court and sit in front of the judge, or actually I meet with a lawyer beforehand, and they give me a deal. They say, you can go to an IOP and you can attend AA meetings, and basically this will all go away. And so I chose that, the easier,
Good choice. But okay.
easier option.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't gonna win that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so you said, yeah, all right. Now, did you go willingly, or did you go because it was just the choice that you say, I'll BS my way through this?
I was gonna BS my way through it. Get that off my record, and once it's over, go back to what I was doing. I had it all planned
out. Because you, that seemed so easy back then, didn't it? Yeah. And how did that all turn out?
So yeah, I got my way through the IOP. That was my first introduction to AA.
Yeah.
I got there and said, maybe I do. That's when a little light bulb started to flicker. Maybe I do belong here. But I got time. I can.
You're young.
Yeah.
I can get through this. I can just enjoy now, right?
Yeah.
But you probably didn't realize the destructive nature of all that, and really the long term on your family relationships, your personal relationships, the girlfriend, the other friends, and other things. So you're starting to get that little spark of maybe there's something wrong, but you sort of dismissed it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the time being.
Yeah.
I'll deal with it later.
Just so easily said from a young person's point of view, right?
Yeah.
Nothing will affect me. But then, okay, so things went on, and you got through that, but you went back to drinking.
Yeah.
So pretty heavily.
Yeah. That's the thing. I didn't have any goals. I was still living at home. I wasn't living. I was existing.
Mm-hmm.
Basically to drink.
Yeah. That was your main priority.
Yeah.
Living at home, your father, your mother saw this was happening.
Yeah.
They didn't just go along with it. They must have been concerned and
Yeah, they were very concerned. They,
Yeah.
countless times tried to get me help that I did need.
But you weren't taking that help.
No. I think they bounced back and forth. Oh, maybe it's just a phase. Maybe he'll grow out of it. But
You didn't.
no.
Until what changed? Something had to have altered your course there.
Yeah. So it was basically that for another year and a half. Just existing until my father passed away in 2018.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. And you were, how old were you then?
2018. I was 20. I was 23.
You were 23. A young guy. Your father was young too.
Yeah.
He was 51.
51 years
Yeah.
old.
And that's pretty traumatic.
Yeah. He had passed away or he had collapsed on a walk on Easter morning, and for me, I was supposed to be on that walk, I guess. So I took that especially hard. I had this God complex where if I was there, it would have been different. That type of thing.
Right. It's natural.
Yeah.
That's. Was your mom there?
My mom was there. Yes.
So now you had some other things to deal with your dad, your mom, and through that event, I think your brother came home, right?
Yes.
And then he went back. He was in the service.
Correct. Yeah.
And then you were with your mom, just you and your mom, trying to cope with all this.
Yeah.
And of course, you're trying to help console each other, but still, you continued with the drinking.
Yeah. I wouldn't say console each other so much. I wasn't there. I was there. I was there for the funeral and for the services, and then, I told myself I would hold it together. I had to be the man of the family now, and that didn't come to fruition. Self-isolation.
Mm-hmm.
I took time off of work, so I wasn't working at the time, so it was just the bottle 24/7.
Just drowning in the bottle.
Yeah.
And your mom, through all this, is dealing with you being in isolation, drinking. Her husband had just passed away. She needed some support. Both of you did, but at the same time, how long could this go on before something changed, and what did change?
Yeah, so we couldn't live with each other.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't healthy. She had kicked me out numerous times and taken me back. I would stay with whoever would let me stay with them. Hotels when I couldn't stay with someone. I've stayed in my truck a couple nights.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't
just wherever.
Yeah, wherever.
Yeah.
And I had no real desire to stop at that point. I knew I was an alcoholic. I didn't want to kill myself, but I had accepted that this was probably going to be the way I was going to go.
And you just kind of accepted that?
Yeah.
And just said, all right, this is it.
Yeah.
I'll just drink myself to death.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much it?
Pretty much.
It's tough on your mom.
Yeah.
So you were just kind of resigned to the fact that this is just going to be your own demise, but here you are. So something again has shifted. Was there another current event or something that happened that?
Yeah. So a few months after my father had passed, I was sectioned for the first time. I went to Matsy, and
Matsy is.
It's in Brockton.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a treatment center.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the spin rinse. I had it wasn't my choice to be there, so I did what I had to do to get out.
Same thing. You're just gonna get through this and get back to your drinking. Is that what you thought?
Yeah.
Again, right?
Yeah.
Same old story, right?
Right.
So you went through the motions of that and came home again?
Yeah. Came home, said things would be different, and they weren't. And it was, in and out of different detoxes, in and out of different hotel rooms, friends' houses, until I started talking to this girl in 2019, and I ended up moving in with her right when COVID started.
Oh boy, good timing. Yeah.
Yeah. And, we developed a relationship. We started dating. We're still together to this day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yep.
And
Yep.
I wish I could say I got sober then, but that wasn't the case.
You were drinking then, obviously.
Yes.
Did she drink with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on occasion. She didn't know what she was getting into. And I didn't. No one gave her that warning. Yeah.
You were going to say, by the way.
Yeah, by the way.
Yeah. All right. So you went through this during COVID, especially you're isolated.
Yeah.
That's, we know what happens with that. But
yeah, I was out of work again at that point.
Yeah.
I had gone back to work and then, kept taking time off. And
yeah. And then you kept going and diving deeper into it.
yes.
COVID isolation didn't help much, but
No.
you were diving deeper and deeper and deeper. Your relationship kept going fine, or did that get affected by your drinking?
It was definitely affected.
Yeah.
We fought a lot. We argued a lot in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Her father and I had our disagreements, and I was getting kicked out of that house now.
Mm.
And yeah, it was a vicious cycle. But
You must have thought, what's wrong with everybody that they keep kicking me out?
Right. Yeah.
It's all their problem, right?
Yeah.
But so you're this relationship's being affected. You're kicked out. You're on your own again. Now you got to find another place here, there, your car, friends, hotel, wherever.
Yeah.
All right. But still, you kept on drinking.
Yes.
Yeah. And the light bulb didn't go off yet.
No. I had been drinking for about a year straight.
Yeah.
At least, and we were living at a friend's house at the time, and I decided I would quit cold turkey. And
What made you decide that, out of the blue?
I couldn't, it was, I couldn't do it anymore. I felt my body shutting down. I wanted to change.
Okay.
At this point, I wanted to make a change.
You no longer felt resigned to say that, I'm just going to die from this and let it happen.
Yeah. I guess I had something more to live for.
Yeah. And you said your body was just shutting down, and you said something's wrong here.
Yeah, something was wrong.
So you made that decision on your own.
Yes.
What did you do about it?
I ended up going into severe DTs, severe hallucinations, vivid hallucinations, and I ended up hurting myself. I ended up in critical condition at Hartford Hospital.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that, and you had stabbed yourself.
Yes.
And you ended up in critical condition at Hartford Hospital. You're laying there. What happened? Yeah.
I remember, basically bleeding out, not to get graphic, on that table, and begging the nurses, begging a God that I didn't believe in at the time, to save me. I promise I'll change. Please, save me. And that's where, I don't think I should have made it. Something bigger than me saved me that day, I believe.
And when did you have surgery, or did?
It was I don't remember too much of it, Mike, but it was just stitching. I had stabbed myself in the neck and in the back. I thought someone was chasing me, and they had
that was due to your hallucination.
All hallucination, but it was real to me, and someone was chasing me, and they got me into a bear hold, and I tried fighting them, and I was just fighting myself.
Thinking you were stabbing them, you were stabbing yourself.
Correct.
Who found you?
A police officer showed up. I was running through the neighborhood. So someone, called the police, and this officer showed up, as almost right after I had done what I'd done. So he got me into his cruiser and, took care of me until an ambulance arrived. And it was a nightmare.
Absolutely. Wow. So you're in critical condition. You were in the hospital for a little bit there.
Yeah, I was in there for I think 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
When I finally came to, they said I could go to the bathroom by myself now, all this. I was like, can I leave? And they were like, yeah, I guess we can't keep you.
Right.
And, I wasn't insured at the time. I was thinking the dollar signs were rolling in my head about the medical bill.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get out of there. And, I probably should have stayed. I probably should have been in there a week,
Because did the hallucinations continue? Or did the withdrawals affect you?
I was still in withdrawals,
Yeah.
for sure, but there was no hallucinations.
Okay.
They had.
That's pretty dangerous. I mean, given what happened,
Yeah.
So you went through the withdrawal. When you left there. Did you go home to your girlfriend?
No, so I went to my mom.
Yeah.
And we had talked, and I needed further treatment. We both agreed on that. And so right away I went to the Hope Center in Springfield.
Yeah. And from the Hope Center?
I went in there with all the right intentions, the mindset that I can't drink anymore and something has to change. Excuse me. There was a COVID outbreak in the Hope Center.
Oh.
About 14 or 15 days into my stay there.
Yeah.
And they say your disease is out there doing push-ups in the parking lot. It was, it was waiting for me.
Yeah.
I got out of there, and I went out with I can't drink, I can't do drugs, I can't do any of that. But the PTSD from the incident, the anxiety from the incident was so bad I couldn't sleep. I thought it would be a good idea to use edibles. To help me fall asleep.
Okay. Yeah. And how did that go?
Within a couple days, it was a pint, then it was a bottle, then it was a handle, and it was right back to it.
Oh, wow. And you just continued that for a few months, didn't
Yeah,
you?
that went on for a few more months, and I was broken down. I was sitting in my car. I had got kicked out of the girlfriend's house again. I had no money for a hotel. I was at that point of desperation. I knew I didn't want to die. I needed help.
So you're sitting in your car by yourself, nowhere to go, no money, nothing. And honestly, the relationship with your mom, with your girlfriend, everything is falling apart around you.
Yeah.
You say, all right, now I'm completely dead-ended here. And that's when you said, all right, now I gotta. What then?
I had called my mom and told her that I needed to be sectioned, and so I went home to her that night, stayed the night, and the following day was sectioned to Stony Brook.
Hard call to make, huh?
Yeah.
But you did it.
Yeah, and there was a relief in her voice that I was making that call.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Because our relationship at that point was almost non-existent.
But for her to even get the call, for you to make the call, she must have been incredibly relieved. You went and you were sectioned.
Yeah.
And then when you came out, that's where you went to the Michael J. Diaz?
Yeah.
Your date, October 6th, 2021. Was it that night when you were alone in your car? That
was the last night.
That was the last night you drank.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's after all what you've gone through. So now you're Michael J. Diaz. Your life starts to change. You make new friends, new
Absolutely.
support around you, and I've gotten to know the people there. Adam, Karen, John, among many others. Marvin, and they're great people.
Yeah.
I enjoy talking to them. They're just wonderful. So you're at Christian and Brian's house with 20 guys. As we talked earlier, a little anxious, like, oh boy, what do I expect? But you got through. You just started going through. In fact, then you became a lead resident, and then at the next step, Sean's house, where you are now. You're working.
Yep.
Full time. Relationship with your mom, how's that going?
I consider her my best friend, one of my best friends. We just went on vacation. We just went to Texas for a week.
You and your mom?
Yeah. The other
Wonderful.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your relationship with your girlfriend?
Great.
Your relationship's great. Your relationship with your mom, consider her your best friend.
Yeah.
You're working full time. Would you trade that now for what you had before?
No.
Of course not. No. But you look back and you got to say, wow, all that you've gone through, and at certain points you had resigned yourself to say, I'm done. Yeah. But you kept going and kept going and kept going. So I give you an immense amount of credit, because those phone calls weren't easy. The recognition that you said, I can't do this anymore. And the times you fell back, but kept coming back. The people you meet with, and I know you speak a lot. You talk at the Hope Center or AA meetings, and they talk about your story.
I just recently started speaking.
Well, that's good though. Here you are again doing it. See,
right.
That's great, because I think you have a really a good, relatable story that people can say, wow. And I'd say, if Josh overcame that, then maybe I can too. Because it certainly. It affects relationships, and sometimes you think, well, my life is over, this relationship's never going to be repaired, but they can be, and you're a great example of that. Well, I know what you're doing right now is wonderful stuff. You're, like I said earlier, you're a young guy and you got lots left in you, and I think you're going to continue to be a good inspiration to many, many people. Including the friends you've made at Michael J. Diaz and the Hope Center. And like you said, you're just beginning. You're just recently speaking at groups now. But how do you feel about doing that?
It's nerve-wracking.
Is it?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got the social anxiety.
Yeah.
But it's, if I can help one person in that room, if I could reach one person, it's worth it.
Yeah. I think you'll be doing that, and I would hope you continue with that, because I think that you will absolutely do that. I think you got good energy about you, and you're going to be helping a lot more people. And again, something that 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you wouldn't see
2
this.
years ago, yeah.
2 years, yeah, you wouldn't see yourself doing this whatsoever. But look, that transformation is wonderful. Yeah, that's great. Well, Josh, man, thanks for coming.
Mike, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing your story, and I know, despite that little anxiety, but yeah, no problem at all. And Josh, thanks. And also thanks again to the people at Michael J. Diaz. They've been really great supporters and wonderful people there. And by the way, it's the mdiazfoundation.org, right? People want to know more about it, right?
Yes.
Well, thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you all soon. Thanks.